Hello guys, welcome back to the video. In today's video we're going to be doing, you guys probably never expected this video, but, well, you guys probably did, but World War 3. But, I just try to make the teams a little more even. So, what I remember from me learning everything, like, for example, Algeria, they are definitely, more allied with Russia. I know that for sure. For some reason, the thing that I was looking at said they were more allied to the U.S. I'm like, no, no. But I do know who's the winner gonna but you guys will find out later in the video. But I'm just gonna show you a little bit more of the map. So, for example, we have the the Western countries having little footholds in Africa, like for example, like Morocco, Tanzanian. They just have a couple footholds here in Africa. Meanwhile, Russia, they are practically Africa's their continent. They're gonna take over. India and Pakistan, they're probably gonna be mainly fighting. I can see China focusing probably on this area of India, and then probably just taking out the countries over here, and then leaving Australia and New Zealand to rot, and then probably sending like forces over to Russia to fight off the main front line. Down here in the Middle East, I can see a little bit of fighting happening here and there, but not too much. I can also probably see Israel leaving pretty soon after the war starts. They're probably just going to take out Lebanon, Palestine, take a little bit of Syria, and dip out of the war. And probably same with Jordan. They're probably just going to grab a little bit of Syria, grab a little of Syria, and they're out. But I feel like the rest of the countries in the Middle East are going to be gonna probably stay in the war. But now I'm curious, guys. I don't know about Iraq. I'm always been very confused about Iraq. I've always thought that it's more allied with Russia, but I'm starting to realize that they're not, but they are. Because, well, for example, the U.S. invaded them, but that was to destroy the regime. Well, apparently they had weapons of mass destruction, which we still don't know if they do or not. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. It's, for me, guys, I'm tired. Let's just say that. But yeah, so I'm gonna leave them out of this war. Same with Egypt. Egypt probably could lean both ways, probably to get Israel. But once again, there's some strong countries right on their borders that they probably would not want to fight. Europe probably is just going to be Europe versus Russia and the troops that Russia gets sent. But if we come over here to North and South America, we don't have many countries over here. I really hope you guys didn't see that. Well, sorry guys, my computer started lagging. But, it's nothing bad. It was nothing bad. It was just like all my tabs popped open, and it was literally just OBS and Paint. But we're probably gonna have the U.S. taking a little bit, and well, with Cuba, and the country in South America, Central America, and South America. I do know their names, but we need to get into actual fighting. So we're gonna have peace talks of Ukraine going worse for it, and what ends up happening is Russia finally says, okay, you know what, screw it, and we're gonna have Russia sending in a little bit more troops and finally pushing a little bit more in, taking a little bit more land from Ukraine, meanwhile still saying, oh, we're doing the right thing. But finally, the US says, okay, you know what? Trump says this. Says Ukraine is a US ally. They are also a NATO ally. And they can evoke Article 5. And if you don't know what Article 5 is, that's when you can that's when you can bring all NATO members into a war. And that's what happens. But see, when this happens, it's just NATO and Russia for about 2 days. But then the war started escalating into China joining, North Korea joining, and most of every country that you see, like, that's on the blue team over here in this area joining, which led to all of the Middle East joining, the Middle East countries joining, India joining, and then all these countries joining. Australia and New Zealand was already planning on joining. But then Russia called in practically all their African allies to even out the battlefield a little bit. And well, the blue team did the same, but they just don't have as many allies, like actual good allies, like allies that would join the war for them in Africa. So this is what they got. And well, a rebellion started down here in Morocco first, and this rebellion, I know the name of it. It's on the tip of my tongue. I just can't. I don't know. Also, don't know how to pronounce it properly. But they rebel as well, and now the war is actually what it looks like. So we're gonna start over here on the Cuban-U.S. front. Obviously, the USA is able to make a naval invasion, but it does not go as successfully as U.S. citizens thought it would, because for the first little while, the U.S. citizens are like, okay, yeah, good war, we're taking out the bad guys. But it took the U.S. 2 months to take out half of Cuba. Well, not half, but a quarter of Cuba. So it's not looking good. But during those 2 months, it's not looking great for Morocco. Morocco was getting a little bit smacked around. Because, well, Algeria and the Southern Sahara, they push in and they start actually taking a fair amount of land from Morocco. Meanwhile, Morocco is just kind of left defenseless because no NATO members are really helping out Morocco. But Tanzania is practically the same story, just worse. The only real NATO member that is helping them is Greece, and Greece is focusing in on the Turkey-Russian front line. And as I said, if Russia loses this war, I can see Russia still having influence, like the old Russian government still having influence over Africa, especially with this now. Because no matter what, Russia's going to be winning the war in Africa. Practically, it might take a little bit, but they're most likely going to win the war in Africa, not the entire war. But with more troops over here, we're going to have them starting to push into Nigeria. I'm pretty sure it's Nigeria. Correct me if I am wrong, but just remember, I am very tired. I'm just tired. We're also going to have them pushing into the other... Oh, nope, I missed something. I believe it is right... Wait, where is it? Okay, no, it's right there. Okay, I was correct. Okay, yeah. So, now we're going to have practically just this area getting obliterated. But yeah. So Africa's going really well for the blue team. It's looking pretty good, as it should, because, well, who's really going to be stopping practically all, like, the forces from here? But something bad does happen for the blue team. Most of Yemen falls to the red team, so that's not good for the blue. But as I said, Palestine was very quick to fall after this war, with them practically being suffocated. Yes, they do have allies now, but they don't really have anyone able to reach them in any way, shape, or form. We also are gonna have all of this looking like this, and well, now with Israel taking all this land, they're gonna push out a little bit more from Lebanon, and they're going to take it. And well, they say, you know what, we're out of here, and they sign a peace treaty with the blue country. They sign a peace treaty with the red country. No, not the. They sign a peace treaty with the blue and the red. The reason why they signed it with the red, saying that they will not join this war, and after the war ends, and whoever wins, they will not ask for money or land from either side. So, with Israel now agreeing to those terms, it is agreed upon that Israel no longer can be called upon from either side, and this peace treaty will be actually recognized by every country in the world. And if it is not, then why? There's nothing that they can do, but just why? Like, Israel has this land. It's their land now. Yes, it does look a little silly. I do know that. Is it hurting my eyes as well? Yes. Do I just want to make Israel invade Jordan? Yes, I do. But no, I can't. Okay, but back to the main war. So over here in Ukraine, the Russian advances has slowed down a little bit, but they still are making advances into Ukraine. Not as fast as they were, but it's been like 3 months. They've been able to make a couple advances. And same up here in the north. But over here in the Baltics, they are not able to hold their own against Russia. And in every mapping video, they fall pretty quickly. But surprisingly enough, Poland is also not really able to hold their own. Like, they are, but not as greatly as you think they would be able to. Because, well, they aren't able to stop Russia from pushing in and taking a little bit of land from them. Same with Belarus. So the Belarusian and Russian forces are surprisingly able to take a little bit of land, and Belarus has now been given the task of holding this area. Russia has told them not to care about Ukraine, just care about Poland. Because if they can knock Poland out of the war, that will be a very, very big win. But Russia uses a little bit of their troops that are stationed in Estonia, and they set sail, and they make a naval invasion into this little pocket right here, which leads to a full-scale invasion of, it's just a collapse of the defensive line on Finland. So, yeah, now it's looking something like this. Not the greatest. What else? So, oh my gosh, why does my computer sound like it's about to blow up? Over here in Asia, we're gonna have China able to they're practically carrying North Korea, but South Korea is knocked out. Meanwhile, Japan is not naval invaded quite yet, but they are starting to get closer. Taiwan also falls pretty quickly. But let's just come over here to Vietnam. So, Vietnam, they're going to be a little bit more interesting because, well, some people are in support of China and they want to switch sides. And, well, actually, it does kind of happen where closer to the capital area, uh, Chinese, uh, like not Chinese people, but Vietnam people actually technically take the capital. I believe the capital is somewhere around there in that area, and they say we want to be a part of the blue country. We want to be a part of the blue team. So this is going to be just be colored in blue because well, they don't want to be because they know that China's going to be practically going to be the ruler of Asia after this war because they're going to be falling. So a lot of people are starting to say switch sides. And you know what? The government finally does switch sides, but not before a couple more invasions does happen from China. China does meet up with this little rebellion thing, I guess. And since the capital was taken by this rebellion, uh, the Vietnamese government started talking to the rebellion, trying to work something out practically immediately, so he could have his country back. But they said no, we're gonna have our own leader, and that leader is going to be someone different. So this is the land that Vietnam is most likely going to lose after this war because they're kind of pulling in Italy during World War II where they're switching sides while they were getting invaded. So what's going to happen is Chinese troops and Laos troops and Cambodia troops are not going to continue this invasion, but they are going to technically still hold this land. It's a big whole confusing thing. No one that's doing it understands it, but the governments are all fine with it. So now with Vietnam out of the way, every southern what is it called again? Every southern Asian country focus their attention, well, almost every, focus their attention on India. Meanwhile, Pakistan has been able to make a little bit of advance into India. Not too big, but a little bit of an advance. Like, very little. But that is really it. Everywhere else has been stalemated by both sides. No really gains from up here because it's all mountains up here, so you can't really invade through that. So, yeah. But we're going to come over here into the mountain, like where Georgia is, and Uzbekistan and Armenia is, and everything. Georgia in this area is wiped out practically immediately. Meanwhile, Turkey is able to obviously hold out because Turkey is not a weak country. Turkey has a decently sized military, honestly. So what ends happening is Turkey has a little bit of an invasion pushed into them, but not a great one. Like not a one that would absolutely demolish the Turkish morale or anything like that. So now that it's starting to look like this, Turkey actually doing this whole time I forgot to completely cover this one in, but Syria is actually technically getting taken out. Jordan wants to sign a peace treaty, but the red country says no, we're not losing another person. If you leave, we will declare you as an enemy of our team. But they know that Jordan knows, and the rest of the red team knows that they won't, because if they do, then they're going to lose the entire support of the Middle East. So this is what it looks like so far over here. But over here in Russia, it is going better for Russia. In the north of Poland, in northern Poland, they've been able to make some more gains, and Poland's troops are starting to fail to hold off. But in Ukraine hasn't been able to push back a little bit, push the Russians a little bit out of this northern invasion, and push it back a little bit right here, and make a big stride for some land. So now Russia is starting to realize that they are trying to cut this off into two, cut them off right here, and focusing probably on the Donbass area, and then come down to Kiev. Not Kiev, Crimea, not Kiev. Kiev's up here. So, yeah, this area, it's just all practically a Mexican standoff. No one's invading each other. It's just a standoff. The only time that it'd probably be an invasion is when if the Russians are able to get there, not win. I meant to say if. But eventually, we're gonna have practically a whole new country joining this war. But it's technically three new countries joining this war, but they're technically already mostly invaded. And this is gonna be a decent problem for them. I believe the Serbian people in Bosnia and Herzegovina are like in these areas. And both sides don't really want to get involved in this, so they don't know what to do. But Serbia does, and they invade them, like big time invade. And to the point where they collapse and they say, "We are a Russian ally. You want to fight us?" But before the blue team, but not the blue team, but before the red team can even notice that Serbia is doing way too good, it's because this is mostly Chinese troops here. There is a lot of Chinese people speaking here. And no one knows how China got 172,000 troops there. Exactly. That's how many Serbia said that China sent them. And no, everyone's like, what? How? Russia's like, we didn't do that. We didn't even know. And they're like, oh, okay, well, that's confusing. Over here in Asia, the first naval invasion of the islands happen. So the first three islands fall, and it is the largest island, this island right here, and this island right here. So, of the Philippines. Sorry, I forgot to say the Philippines. Still, India, nothing has changed. Middle East, I'll come back to that. But Africa, I'll also come back to that because we need to go to North America and South America. The Americans was actually able to get Cuba finally, also practically do this. But something that they have been struggling with for a while now is all of this. They are big time struggling taking out the rest of this, and they're like, so what are we supposed to do here now? And actually, the first riot happens in the U.S. border, not the U.S. border, but in the U.S. Capitol, and Trump gets in a lot of trouble for this. And it's now said that there will be an election to happen, but Trump's like, we're in the middle of a war, in the middle of World War III. No, there can't be an election. And now a lot of Democrat news stations, they are saying that Trump is using World War III to not get kicked out of office. He's also using World War III as a stepping stone to save his career. And everyone's like, okay, this is not good. And this is actually where the U.S. is doing. And since the U.S. morale is already terrible, especially with everything that's going back on home, this is what it's looking like, and it's just been slowing down every day until their military finally collapses and they say we can't do this anymore. So if they were able to hold out for a little longer, I feel like the advances would slow down even more. But yeah. So we're gonna have for the past little while the African nations of that's on Russia's side are just practically able to steamroll the little the more little countries in part of this, like the not major ones, the ones that aren't as major. For example, that one that I just knocked out, uh, this rebellion, and they're even actually able to take back a. Actually, no, not really. They're actually falling still more in Yemen, but Yemen's still trying their best to get them to slow down, and they're actually not doing a terrible job, especially with a lot more focus on in Asia and just everywhere else. So at this point, Africa has fallen. The red team is begging NATO and rest of any countries that are even willing to help the Western countries. For example, they are begging South America, they are begging Chad, Egypt, every country to just help them out. But all of them are saying no because they don't know if another country is going to come up and back them up. And if they don't, then what are they going to do? Exactly. They don't know. So they continue their push into. Oh, no. So now with the. So now with their next close out, the strongest nation they have in Africa about a like surrender because they are starting to feel like really hurt from this war. The the global economy is starting to tank, and everyone is starting to feel it from this war. But finally, we're gonna have technically our own like little invasion that people like to do when they go in when the same side goes and invades. Um, yeah, we're gonna have the red country taking this part of it, and the blue taking the rest. So why they do this, I don't know. They just felt like it, you know. But it's just technically the reason why they actually did it was because this front line got stalemated. So the blue country thought, hey, what if we just go around it? Then would that work? And they're like, don't do that because we'll just invade the country. And they're like, what if we invade the country? And they said, well, what if we both invade the country? And then they actually, two generals got together on this front line, like right here, and they like both started drawing lines of where the new border would be for the first little while until it started fighting. Bruh, I didn't mean to do that. But, sorry. Yeah. So it's going to continue going and going and going until finally we have a front line looking like this, and Africa is now completely blue. Almost. We're gonna come up here to Morocco and Tanzania. Oh wait, did I say Tanzania? I meant it's gone. It's gone. It was wiped off the face of this planet. And well, Morocco, it's also starting to for the past little while because it's been like this is like a year into the war now at this point, maybe like a year and a half now. So we're looking like this now, and well, Morocco's not doing so hot anymore. Like they weren't this entire war. Yes, am I underestimating Morocco? Oh yes, I am. Am I 100% sure that if this is what the map of Africa looked like like if this Africa was at war, like the red nations only in Africa and only the blue nations in Africa, would the blue ones win? Oh yeah, I'm sure they would. But honestly, with all the other nations, I'm not completely sure. So, meh. But finally, the first African troops are landing in Europe, and they have been able to take out the Spanish islands and everyone's like, "Oh no." Meanwhile, the rest of Syria is captured and now given, like, not given to Turkey, but like letting Turkey control it. But now with this out of the way, Turkey is saying, "Oh, we're gonna focus on this front line," and the rest of NATO is like, "No, focus on Serbia." They're like, "Okay." The Turkish government's like, "Okay," and well, that's not good because, well, Turkey thinks that they're saying, "Oh, pull troops off of the border that with Russia that Russia's actually kind of focusing on a little bit right now, so they can destroy us and get around and destroy one of our stronger countries. Take troops off that border." Yes. No, that's not what they meant, Turkey. They meant, don't put more troops on that border. Just continue holding that border and focus on something else. And well, this is what it looks like. So they're now stuck with uh, losing more land. It's not looking good for Turkey. Well, in this area, like this area over here, right? Not looking good for them. But over here in Asia, it's not looking good for Japan because, well, an actual naval invasion got landed in Japan on this little tip of Japan. It is starting to look bad because, well, they were able to take that full, like, I guess, panhandle, and that led to a massive boost in Chinese morale, and about 200 million more people, men, signed up for the Chinese military that year alone, that month alone. That is crazy. Like, that is the most people I've ever seen. Like, this is now the largest. 200 million? Wait, no, 200 million. That's too much. Hold up. I'm changing that to 12 million in 1 month. That's a big number. And well, about 6 million troops were sent to the front line in Russia. What's been happening in Russia? Well, for example, Russia has started to focus more on Ukraine, pushing them back out of this like area. Meanwhile, continuing their advances in the south, not really focusing on the north, just mostly holding it. And well, it's not looking good for them anymore, like Ukraine. And well, actually, I hate how this border looks, so I'm gonna fix it. Um, just give me a second, guys, because I don't want to burn your guys' eyes out with this, because I actually feel bad for you for even have to look at this, especially the Israel border. I feel terrible for that. That looks terrible. I'm sorry, but Poland was also able to gain a little bit more land back, just a little bit, but not enough to actually kick the Russians out. Also, Finland was also able to take a little bit more land, but still not enough to overset the Russians. But a U.S. ship is seen around this area of the of Russia, and well, guess what happens? Russia is very upset because a massive, oh, what the heck just happened? Okay, but a massive, I mean massive naval invasion just happened. This is larger than D-Day. This is larger than the Japan naval invasion. This took like, I believe, around 1 million men from all the countries in NATO, like not most of the countries in NATO, and they did this naval invasion. Everyone's like, "What? How did you manage to do that?" And well, obviously some men did go back to fight some other front lines. But then you also have, but with there's only being 500,000 men in there, Russia starts to be able to push them back a little bit. And they're asking for those men back that just went to Sweden. They're on this island of Sweden, but they don't get those until it's too late. Because, well, the port that they landed in, like one of the ship that they landed in and were coming to come back to get them just got blown up by a Russian aircraft. So it's bad. 500,000 men are left stranded in Russian area. And by the end of it, it is calculated that there was only 20,000 men captured. 10,000 men stranded, like not stranded, but like deserted. And the other 470,000 deceased. So Russia did some bad things then, and no one knows what they did, but they want to find out. But Russia, they do the same thing back to Sweden to just kind of show them what's happening. And, well, they take that island from Sweden, and with the U.S. completely destroyed at this point from that massive loss of men, a little riot happens. Not just a little one, but it's quite a big one. It is big enough for me to show you on the map. So it's big enough. It happens pretty close to the capital. It's obviously not on the blue side, but I'm just going to color it blue because it is on the blue side. But this is to completely drop out of the war. U.S. out of the war completely. Out, gone. No more U.S. Which would completely end the war and have Russia win. But there's only really one place that is for it. And you might be surprised, but that's Florida. And Florida promises all the countries that not all the countries, but all the places that are all the people that are asking for to leave the war, that they want to leave the war as well. So they have their own little problem because everyone's fleeing to Florida now. And now starting their own military. So people are in Florida just rebelling from you, saying that we are the new United States. They're not on a blue team, so they're green. And everyone's so confused how the U.S. is letting this happen. And finally Trump is impeached and the Democrats win the vote by a landslide. Every other party combined got a total of 3% of the votes. The Democrats got 97% of the votes. Everyone's like, what? Texas was blue. Everyone was blue. Florida, they had no idea what Florida was doing. But now, we're going to have, the U.S. is now in the process of trying to leave the war. So their people don't start rebelling. So the U.S. is now starting to pull troops off front lines, and everyone is shocked. Everyone's shocked. Everyone's like, are they allowed to do this? But no one's gonna stop them. Okay, now we're gonna come over here to Serbia because I completely forgot about Serbia. There's so many front lines. I suck at doing a lot of front lines. More Chinese men somehow showed up. Were they enough to hold off? No, but there's enough to stop Serbia from completely falling. Bosnia and Herzegovina is back, but it's still not looking totally great for Albania and North Macedonia because these two countries, they are gone. I mean gone. For example, Albania and North Macedonia, that's what they look like. And Greece's military is still failing with the massive amount of Chinese troops that are in there. In Serbia. But now we get to hear the new Chinese update. So the Chinese government has now reported that their military is now at a peak of 77 million troops. in Asia and another 32 million around the world. Where are these troops? And well, U.S. people have the U.S. is guessing that there is about 2 million Chinese troops in Serbia. Absurd. About uh, about 25 million troops in Russia. Too much. But this is what happens when you have a massive population. But China, another part of the Chinese government has also reported that they are now closing. You can no longer sign up for the military next month, because at this point there's too many casualties at this war, and they are scared they're going to start losing too many people. So yeah, and then probably the rest of it just around the world. So if you're wondering why Russia's doing so good, it's because they have like around 20 million troops from China. And well, let's take a look at those troops. Those troops, they are doing some massive damage. They're in the lower areas of Ukraine. That's why it's going really well for Russia. And well, yes, they actually are starting to experience a lot more casualties. And that's another reason why they are starting to stop, because they're scared. But but the Chinese government doesn't even need to bring back the draft, because the reason why so many people are signing up is because they want to laugh at the Americans. Because the naval invasion that happened up here, that is a laughing stock for the Americans. No one thought that would ever happen to the Americans, but it did. And everyone was shocked. U.S. troops were shocked. U.S. officials were shocked. Everyone was scared what's going to be happening. And well, with this mass amount of U.S. There's like 30,000 U.S. troops encircled in here. It has now officially gone down. But the scary thing is, China just said that they spent $992 billion on their military that throughout this entire through the past 2 years that they've been at war. Everyone's like, what? And people are now starting to speculate, is the US still number one? Or is China number one? And well, China, it's not looking good for anymore. And well, we're going to come over here to the US again. Because with more loss of more troops, and the US now even more scared about just people breaking away, they're going to continue doing what they are doing. Yes, they are going to continue leaving the war. So they are even more in the process of leaving. They are now completely out, and they have now completely settled on Cuba. Cuba has now been left. Same with practically all the countries that they were invaded, except for so these guys, they're no longer communist. Like, Cuba's no longer communist. And they just have a Western pro government now. So that's really it. And well, over here in Venezuela, a little bit of land is taken from them. Not Venezuela. Is it Venezuela? I don't even know. But it's just a little pocket right here that they're going to be taking. Well, not a little. It's actually quite big. That's what she said. I'm sorry. That was a bad joke. But there we go. So this is what it looks like. It is a great accomplishment. But everyone in the world is swearing at the USA. Because they're like, what is going on? What is this all about? Why are you leaving the war? Why are you leaving the war? And well, this is when China says, okay, we are going to pull 10 million troops out of Russia, and we are going to demilitarize them because it's starting to become a little expensive. And with the US starting to leave the war, they don't need as many troops, which is good, I guess, for them. Terrible for the rest of the world, though. Finally, a couple front lines do fall. Like Greece, they no longer have any money. They are broke. Greece has no more money. It's official. Greece, the country Greece, declares bankruptcy. That's how hard it has been on these military, on not these militaries, but these, on these, just everything. It's just been really hard. But finally, we finally know how they got how. Oh my gosh, I'm stuttering right now. We finally know how China's been getting all those troops to Serbia. Egypt was secretly supporting the blue, so they're a dark blue. They're light blue country. So everyone's like, oh, what? No, this is not how World War III is supposed to go. So guys, yes, I've had the blue team winning this war the whole time. But the only reason why is because the US made some silly mistakes. Is this realistic at all? Oh no, it's not. This would never happen in real life. But we do know that if Russia were to win, it would have to be looking something like this. But eventually, the Russian military is going to make a very big spearhead out and take the capital of Turkey. And while this is going to boost the morale of a lot of Russian soldiers, and while it's going to destroy the morale of any Turkish soldiers left. And Turkey is the next one to go. Yes, they fell. And everyone is like, what is happening? This was not a part of the script. Because honestly, everyone has Russia losing, and I wanted to see Russia win one World War III. You know what? That's what I did. And well, finally, our last like major Asian country surrenders. Like surrenders. Not like surrenders in a way where they are like completely controlled by the military, but where they're out of the war. And they just lose the land that they have that they got occupied by. So all of this land right here, this land is given to North Korea. Same with this little panhandle right here. And they're like, oh no, this is not good. North Korea is on the Japanese island, like the main island with Tokyo. Everyone's like, okay, so the world's over. India is next to peace out of this war, but not before because right before they oh my gosh, I'm starting so much. I'm sorry, guys. But you're going to have India telling the Indian troops to back down. Stop firing back. But that doesn't stop the Chinese troops or Pakistani troops to not fire. And they do continue. Because they realize that India is about to leave the war, and well, that's exactly what's about to happen. So they end up getting all of this land taken. So yeah, it's now looking like this, and everyone's like, oh no. And finally, India has surrendered, but by surrendering, they mean we will leave the war by switching sides, so they can't just continue invading us and saying, oh wait, we didn't realize. So they're going to switch sides, just like, so it's going to look like Vietnam. Our next country to just leave the war is going to be our Oceania countries like the Philippines. Not before technically So the northern part of the islands are going to become a technically just a Japanese um puppet. Meanwhile, the rest of it's just going to become normal. And see, with more countries starting to leave the war, it's now starting to look really bad for the red team. And Canada is the next one to leave because they realize that, okay, if the USA is about to leave the war, what are we supposed to do? I didn't even do that. Um, okay, but yeah, it's just not looking good. We're also going to have some Europeans dropping out of the war. By dropping out of the war, they are paying money. I'm saying that now. They are paying money. But finally, the USA does realize something. They try to do a naval invasion out here in Siberia, but it fails again because it's too cold. And well, this was one of the last straws, and people start rioting again. And guess what the government just tries to do? They try to calm them down by taking another procedure, another step of leaving the war, which gets even more people, like not people in the U.S. mad, but their allies mad. And NATO members, every single NATO member says, next person to leave this war is out of NATO. And Germany and Denmark leaves NATO 2 days later. The next country to leave is Italy. France is too dragged into this war. The Netherlands leaves, and the UK leaves. Sweden is offered to switch sides by Russia. They take that. And, well, Hungary is offered it. Turkey is given their autonomy, and they have now been granted just to switch, and they now have a pro-Russian government, and everyone is like, uh-oh, what is going on here? This is not good. This is the end of the world. We're going to come down. Okay, no, go away. No, go away. Go. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I don't even know what that was. Okay, we have Morocco falling, the rest of Africa falling, and any countries that were on the brink of joining the lion, like the blue team, now do join just so they don't get invaded. For example, Chad and South Africa, because they were almost joining the red before they lost. But finally, French Guiana asked for its independence, and they get it. And this was major because they're like a country that doesn't even want their independence. They leave the war, and now it's literally just a couple European countries. And well, the US takes another major step to leave the war. They are now a very light pink, as you can tell, because I'm pretty sure you guys can see me changing the color. But Greenland is next to leave. Then Belgium has literally has it in there, like has the headquarters in it, so they can't leave. But the rest. So what's gonna happen is Yemen gets invaded. Well, not invaded, but liberated. Syria gets recaptured. Jordan leaves. Kuwait leaves. Qatar leaves. And the practically everyone that could leave leaves, and the rest of them switch sides, not willingly, but because they get cooed into doing it. Like, the people literally take over the government. A lot of people in the Americas are still doing like Last Hope, but over here in Canada, a new hope arises, not to fight the red or the blue, but to save both sides, whoever's left. And well, the three founding members is the UK, four founding members is the UK, Canada, Ireland, and Germany. Italy's pretty quick to join it. Um, Another country to join it because it's technically an economical pack of the world, so anyone can join it if you want, because they're trying to fix the economy already. Israel joins it, uh, Cyprus joins it, Jordan joins it. Everyone that has left the war tries to join it because their economy is already screwed up enough. A lot of African nations join it. A couple more join it, and then it's starting to look better for the world because this as I said, this is trying to save the world. Like literal nations that have been destroyed because like the economy of the world is garbage now. Like every a dollar's worth like half like a quarter like a slice of bread now. Like it's like Germany back before World War II. So still, once again, it's not looking good. Um, Over here in Oceania, another country joins, but yeah, it's I guess not Oceania, but they would join. They would join. So yeah, it's looking good for them, I guess. Japan joins this. China joins it, surprisingly enough. Um, Everyone's like, great. Uh-oh, that's not gonna go well with anybody. And well, it's now starting to look like this might actually be able to save it. And well, finally, the last couple Western NATO members leave the war, and well, it is finally said World War III has ended. And now it is just a Western European war versus the rest of the world. That's what it feels like. And it takes a matter of 1 year to finish off the rest of the Red Nations, because the Red Nations, they were in too deep. They could not surrender, or the Blue team would not let them surrender or leave the war, or just join the Blue. Not the Blue, the Purple. And there is no more Red, except for the U.S. But the U.S. has now finally left it, and they are now banned from this global economic alliance because every single red nation feels betrayed by the USA. So it ends in a peaceful way, I guess. But now more countries are joining the Purple Alliance in hope of refuge from this now new blue order. Is this going to be a Cold War? No, because, well, it's really just because Russia joins it, China joins it, Iran joins it, Turkey joins it. Like, all the major fighters of this war joins it. So, I don't really know if it would become a new world, like, if it could start a new world war up again. I'm not trying to piece you for this, guys. Just, here, just imagine this. Uh, North Korea takes South Korea. Uh, what would happen down here is China would take this. Here, I'll zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it better. Um, China takes this right here, right? And then Laos takes the rest right here. Then Cambodia takes all of this right there. And then yay! That's it for down there. And India would probably just get carved up with the land that they've lost. Like they probably lose that. And then Pakistan would take their land, and then India would finally join. And slowly the blue countries would start turning into more purple, especially the ones that forcefully got turned into blue nations. I know you guys probably couldn't see anything when I was doing that, but yeah. So more and more countries are starting to join this alliance to rebuild their economics. And obviously, the world no longer looks like this. The world is much changed. This war went on for like, I want to say, at least 10 years. But the main founding member was actually Canada. Only a couple nations still don't join it, and that's like a couple countries that just don't want to. But the Blue Alliance is still there. It's just now kind of overshadowed by the purple. So practically the whole world starts to join it. Like countries just start flying into it. Just it's like I don't even know what it would be like, but both sides of the uh, both sides of the Philippines joins it. The Philippines and South Philippines joins it. And well, during this whole war, King Jong Un did die. His daughter took over, surprisingly enough, and she's saving North Korea. She joins this new alliance, and everyone's like, wow. And well, finally, this is what it's going to be looking like, the New World Map. And I'm not joining Peace Treaty for this because I don't want to. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know I enjoyed making for you guys. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Bye.